Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the Minecraft Iceberg, created by user Probot748 on Reddit. Today, I'll be covering the 4th layer of the iceberg, so if you haven't seen my previous videos dissecting layers 1 through 3, or if you don't know what an iceberg video is, there's a link to a playlist in the description. Previously, we discussed topics like the troubling history of Minecraft's rumored sky dimension, the world behind one of Minecraft's most iconic screenshots, and went down the expansive list of Minecraft's April Fool's jokes. For this layer, we've got another 49 entries to discuss, so I'll keep this intro short. If you're new here and haven't already, please consider subscribing and maybe leaving a like on this video, as any support from you guys means the world to me. And finally, if you like my content and want to see more from me, check out my Twitch channel where I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 1 PM Eastern, link in the description. Now, with all that out of the way, let's check out layer 4 of the Minecraft Iceberg. Locked chest. Kicking things off with Minecraft's final April Fool's update, so far, on April 1st, 2011, inside Minecraft version beta 1.4, a new block called the locked chest would generate in the world. This chest was indestructible, aside from explosions, and when the player would interact with it, a GUI would pop up, stating, quote, "You need a Steve Co. supplied crate key to open this. You can pick one up at the Minecraft store." The player would then choose between two buttons, reading Not Now or Go to Store. When the Go to Store button was clicked, it would navigate the player's browser to the Minecraft store, where they could then select several items to add to their cart. Upon clicking the Proceed to Checkout button, a jump scare of a dinosaur PNG would move across the screen, and the previous checkout button would now read Fiddlesticks. Furthermore, if the player were to add $10,000 worth of items to their cart, a notification would pop up in the player's browser, giving an epilepsy warning before the shop would flash bright colors. This was Minecraft's first April Fool's update, and the whole thing was a reference to the Manco supply crates from Team Fortress 2. The next day, a banner was put on the Minecraft store website that read April Fools, and a MIDI track of Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley played in the background. Gears. Gears were a scrapped block, introduced in version InDev 0.31, that could only be obtained through the use of inventory editors. These blocks could only be placed in the walls of other blocks, and although they had no confirmed function, many people believe they were the predecessor to redstone wire, due to any gear placed in the world being changed to redstone once redstone was added. Gears don't have much of a history in Minecraft. They were without use until their removal in Alpha 1.0.1, yet somehow, seeing gears to this day makes me incredibly nostalgic. Herobrine Shrine. If you've played Minecraft for a while, you'll probably remember seeing one of these, if not building one yourself, especially if you were a kid in 2010 to around 2012. Now, of course, if you did have your own hunt for Herobrine in your Minecraft world and couldn't find anything, well, why not just summon this son of a bitch? By creating a shrine out of gold, netherrack, and redstone torches, you too could have your own pet cryptid living amongst your world. Okay, so this shrine, of course, did nothing. Well, nothing but waste a ton of gold blocks, but I mean, what, were you really going to use those anyway? For this entry, though, I did look on YouTube to try and find the first Herobrine shrine ever created, and I have no idea if it's the actual first shrine ever made. I mean, I'm sure there's a Minecraft forum thread older than this video, but this video by PhaseOut might just be the first Herobrine shrine ever uploaded onto YouTube. It was uploaded on December 31st, 2010, and at the time of writing this script, it's got 3.4 million views. If you know if this was the original Herobrine shrine or not, let me know in the comments. How did we get here? How Did We Get Here is a hidden advancement that requires the player to have every potion effect applied at the same time. This advancement is constantly updated with any new effects added to the game and is extremely hard to obtain, as you could imagine. Getting this advancement has turned into an in-game challenge as well as a speedrunning category, with the current world record holder for all advancements being speedrunner Fainberg. Endermen are farlanders. In 2011, many people of the V-board on 4chan came together and agreed that the Endermen should be renamed to the Farlanders, in reference to the infamous bug that we discussed previously in the Iceberg. Notch noticed the proposition and tweeted about it, saying, quote, "How about we just rename the Farlands to the End instead?" This tweet would go on to inspire Notch to create the End, but of course, nothing was done to satiate V's appetite for Farlanders. This was until the popular Farlanders mob was created, adding fan lore to the Endermen, and creating new and unique mobs with interesting backstories. Super duper graphics. To make up for the lack of shaders in Bedrock Edition, at E3 2017, Mojang announced the Super Duper Graphics Pack. This $10 add-on would have dramatically changed the lighting for Bedrock, also adding dynamic shadows and moving foliage among other things. Sadly though, this pack was cancelled in 2019 after being delayed for being too technically ambitious. Abnormal cacti. If you've ever walked through a desert biome and stumbled upon a cactus that was taller than 3 blocks high, you found yourself a rare oddity in your Minecraft world. Due to cactus generation code, it's possible for multiple cacti to be generated on the same block. If this occurs, the cacti are simply combined, making a single large cactus. If you recall, previously in the Iceberg we talked about the Minecraft at Home team and their searches for many iconic maps in Minecraft's history. Well, they have another project dedicated to finding the tallest natural cactus in all of Minecraft. They've managed to find 2 Minecraft worlds with the tallest cacti in Minecraft history. The first being a 22 block tall cactus in a regular world, and the second, a 24 block tall cactus in a super flat desert world. Story mode discontinued. Minecraft Story Mode was an interactive, episodic, narrative-driven game developed by Telltale Games, with the first season of 8 episodes being released in October of 2015, and a second season following in June of 2017. Following the events of Telltale Games shutting down on September 21st, 2018, it was announced that Minecraft Story Mode would be pulled from online stores, meaning the game was no longer downloadable on any console or PC. The only remaining way to experience Minecraft Story Mode, if you didn't have access to a physical copy, would be to play it on Netflix, of all things, with their interactive Minecraft Story Mode series. But unfortunately, at the time of writing the script, Minecraft Story Mode was removed from Netflix just yesterday, on December 5th, 2022. Fire Chainmail. Shortly after version InDev 2010-02-06, Chainmail armor was made craftable with the use of fire blocks. Fire blocks were clearly a placeholder. The player couldn't even obtain fire blocks without the use of an inventory editor. But, as we all know, to this day, Chainmail armor is still uncraftable. Surprisingly, this placeholder recipe for Chainmail armor stayed in the game until release 1.8, when the fire block was removed from the game. Johnny. Now, I'm not sure why the creator of the Iceberg separated this entry from the name tag Easter eggs in the second layer, but I can't blame him, because somehow I missed this one too. If you name a Vindicator Johnny, it'll become hostile to almost every other mob in the game. This is a reference to the film The Shining, specifically a scene where the main character, Jack Torrance, chops down a door with an axe and yells, "Here's Johnny." Red Dragon. Several times throughout 2010 to 2012, Notch had stated that along with the Ender Dragon, he planned to implement a red dragon that would spawn in the overworld, do no damage to blocks, and would be able to land on the ground. Developer Jeb also confirmed the red dragon during an Ask Me Anything session on Reddit, stating he would add red dragons, but he wasn't sure how. Years went by, and with no red dragon in sight, developer Dinnerbone took to Twitter to say, quote, "It was never promised. We have no plans to add a red dragon at this time." Though, roughly 2 months later, Dinnerbone again went online to discuss the red dragon, this time on Reddit replying to a user asking if there ever would be a red dragon. Dinnerbone responded, "I'm sure one day there will be. Not right now, though." This was the last time a red dragon was discussed, so if you're still holding out hope for a red dragon in Minecraft, maybe one day there will be. Stunned Enderman. A little known fact about Enderman behavior: if you make eye contact with an Enderman but continue to stare at it, the Enderman won't actually move. That being said, it can still teleport away, but it won't make any advances towards you with its legs, so the next time you're caught off guard, just maintain eye contact. Zombie horses. Added in release 1.6.1, zombie horses are an unused variant of the horse mob, only spawnable through the /summon command on Java Edition. Being the only undead passive mob, the zombie horse exhibits many traits that the regular horses don't, such as the ability to regenerate health automatically, taking damage from potions of healing, and being able to breathe underwater. Flying machines. Flying machines are a relatively common redstone build that typically use slime or honey blocks in conjunction with redstone blocks, observers, and pistons in order to move through air or water without any player interaction. These machines can have several purposes, like transporting players, transporting mobs, or even creating TNT bombers to clear massive amounts of blocks automatically. I personally used around 50 of them to clear a massive underground space on my SMP. They can be tricky to get going, but it definitely beats clearing 100 chunks by hand. Floating grass. Since its addition in Beta 1.6, grass has had its fair share of bugs. This entry refers to a specific bug that affected grass for 10 years, that being the generation error that made grass float in midair, or spawn on top of blocks it shouldn't have. From Beta 1.6 all the way to just before release 1.17, this bug was active, and it's a wonder with how Minecraft is aimed to be more realistic throughout the years that this bug wasn't touched for a whole decade. Luck Potion. The Potion of Luck is an item that gives the player the luck status effect, though the potion itself is unobtainable in survival mode. This luck effect grants the player better chances at finding high quality loot, but the only loot table affected by this is the fishing loot table. Clearly, this luck effect is still being worked on, but maybe one day we'll be able to use this effect on some better loot tables. Green Steve. Green Steve is a fan-made creepypasta that tells the story of a player's encounter with, well, a Green Steve. Now, before researching for this Iceberg, I had no idea the story even existed, and to my knowledge, it's relatively underground. I only found a handful of YouTube videos about it, but the Minecraft creepypasta wiki lists it as a classic, and apparently a YouTuber by the name of Favor My Saber used Green Steve as a protagonist in his Minecraft roleplay series, so maybe this is a hit story that just made it under my radar. Green Steve did spawn a few spin-offs, namely the stories of Red Steve and Blue Steve, very creative, I know, and of course, these two stories roped both Herobrine and Entity 303 into them. Truly an all-star team that no 9-year-old in 2012 would be able to handle without having a seizure of some variety. Missing texture block. The missing texture block is created when the game generates a block and can't find an appropriate texture for it. Currently, it's a 2x2 purple and black block, though throughout Minecraft's history, the texture has been changed. Before release 1.6.1, the missing texture block was just solid white and had missing texture written on it. And over on Bedrock Edition, it's a dirt block that has the word update written on all 6 sides. Missing texture items are common placeholders in many games, and like the purple and black checkered block we have in Minecraft, they're usually an eye-catching color, so the developers will see them in the game environment and won't forget to give the item a proper texture. Item duplication. Throughout Minecraft's history, there have been many ways for players to duplicate items, especially on Minecraft servers. One of the earliest duplication glitches was discovered all the way back in Alpha 1.0.17, and it was shockingly easy. All the player had to do was open a chest, take an item from their inventory, and then hover the item in their cursor while closing the chest, which would instantly drop a duplicated item on the ground. Now, of course, as time has passed, many duplication glitches have been patched out, though the community always finds a complicated way to duplicate items again. These duped items, if used on a server, can destroy a server's economy, though if you're playing on an anarchy server, it might be the only way to survive. Nether ceiling. Unlike the overworld or the end, the Nether has a bedrock layer lining both the top and the bottom of the dimension. Now this was meant to stop players from ever exploring what's beyond the bedrock cap at the top of the Nether, but using several methods, you can easily break or even teleport through that bedrock layer. By using the flat and desolate top side of the dimension, players have created elaborate mob farms that can spawn thousands of items due to no mobs spawning naturally at the top of the bedrock. This allows for players to create platforms capable of spawning mobs, making extremely efficient grinders. Players also use the empty bedrock plane as a means of fast travel. As we all know, it's much more efficient to travel large distances in the overworld through the Nether. When the evoker is near a dyed blue sheep, it'll transform the sheep's color to red while yelling out "Wololo." This is an Easter egg reference to the strategy game Age of Empires, where the priest character would yell out that same "Wololo" while converting the red enemy team to its own blue team. Enchanted Golden Apple Recipe. When golden apples were first introduced in version InfDev 2010-02-27, the crafting recipe was made up of a single apple surrounded by gold blocks. At the time, the regular golden apple was the best food item in the game. Since there was no hunger, the golden apple instantly healed 20 health points, or all 10 hearts. For a long while, the golden apple remained at the top of the Minecraft food pyramid, until release 1.3.1, when enchanted golden apples were introduced. These new enchanted golden apples gave stronger effects, and replaced the old golden apple recipe, with the regular gapple now being crafted with gold nuggets. This enchanted golden apple recipe lasted all the way until release 1.9, even having its own achievement for crafting one, but with the combat update, the recipe for the enchanted golden apple was removed. Mushroom Light. In version InDev 0.31, the brown mushroom specifically was made into a light source, raising the light level to 1 on whatever block it was placed on. This represents a chemical reaction some mushrooms have in real life. It's similar to fireflies. Testificates. While villagers were being worked on during the Beta 1.9 pre-releases, any villager spawned in the world would have the word Testificate above their head, just like a player's username. From what I've seen, many people online have debated why villagers were originally called Testificates, and a fan theory claims that since the word Testificate translates to witness in Latin, there must have been a significant world event that the villagers were a witness to. Of course, this name was likely just a placeholder, and Testificate was just a funny way of saying villagers were being tested. Post-apocalyptic future. This is a popular fan theory that states the world of Minecraft is a post-apocalyptic future, where Steve is the only human left alive, and every other creature is a product of radiation or some sort of other mutating disease. It's fun to think about, really, and it does give the abandoned structures found throughout the world a meaning. Maybe the Endermen are the alien civilization that destroyed the world and are now trapped on it with Steve. But I'm sure someone's already beat me to that one. Raspberry Pi Edition. Pi Edition is a discontinued version of Minecraft Pocket Edition that was developed for the Raspberry Pi, which is a small single-board computer. Essentially, this version of Minecraft was released as an education tool for programming on a Raspberry Pi. It came out on February 11th, 2013, and you can still download and play it to this day. As far as its content goes, it's a slightly stripped down version of Alpha 0.6.1 Pocket Edition, only missing a few features in order to run inside the Pi. Wax Block. The Wax Block was a cut item introduced in a snapshot for release 1.15, before its removal in a future snapshot shortly after it was released. Only the texture for this block was found in the game files. Mojang developers were quick to say this texture wasn't intended to be included in the snapshot, along with another cut texture called Crystallized Honey. Today, wax is only used as a mechanic to stop copper blocks from oxidizing, and it uses honeycombs to do so, almost combining those two cut textures into a single mechanic. Quiver. The Quiver is a classic Minecraft item that I and many others will likely think of first when it comes to unused content. The history of the Quiver begins in a previous game developed by Notch called Legend of the Chambered. Legend of the Chambered included the original textures for many Minecraft items, including the classic leather, iron, and chainmail armor, iron swords, apples, and of course, the Quiver. When Notch began development for the in-dev versions of Minecraft, these items were among the first to be added, making the Quiver's official Minecraft debut in version in-dev 2009-1231-2. Although Notch took the time to port the Quiver into Minecraft, he didn't actually give it any functional mechanic, leaving it in the game for testing purposes, and just as quickly as it was implemented, it became abandoned for years. Eventually, the Quiver only existed as a texture in the game files, only receiving one update in version in-dev 2010-01-22, where its texture was flipped horizontally. Even with the lack of updates, the Quiver survived in the game files through the removal of items.png, where the texture was originally found, receiving its own unique file. After years with no updates regarding the Quiver, developer Dinnerbone posted an image on Twitter during the development of 1.9, showing a dedicated Quiver slot in the player's inventory, along with the Quiver being used inside it. This wouldn't last long though, as Dinnerbone reversed his decision just over a month later, stating, quote, "I'm removing Quivers again. Arrows in the offhand feels more natural." With the Quiver finally showing no proof of future plans, it was removed in the first snapshot of the combat update. Though, to this day, there are plenty of mods that don't even revolve around cut Minecraft content that still add a Quiver to the game. Maybe if Jeb ever continues his combat update rework, we'll see the Quiver once again. Super Secret Settings. The Super Secret Settings button was a feature added in release 1.7.2, where a collection of shaders could be clicked through with a button in the pause screen, augmenting the visuals of the game significantly. These shaders were, for the most part, just a cool little addition that you'd want to experience for fun, not something you'd want to keep on constantly. The Super Secret Settings received a few updates throughout their time in the game, adding a few new shader options, but most notably, 3 shaders were kept after the removal of the Super Secret Settings button, namely the Creeper, Spider, and Enderman shaders that you can still see in the game when spectating these mobs today. In release 1.9, the button for the Super Secret Settings was removed from the pause screen, though the shaders themselves remain in the files as confirmed by developer Grum, and are intended to be rewritten and hopefully implemented back into Minecraft. Minicraft. Minicraft is a small game created by Notch and released on December 19th, 2011 for a 48-hour game development competition. It's a top-down 2D game that features many items from Minecraft and other games developed by Notch, where the ultimate goal is to defeat the Air Wizard boss. Notch streamed the development of the game on Twitch and even planned a sequel, although the sequel was never released. Minicraft was pretty well received, even getting a popular modded version called Minicraft Plus that added many new features, as the original was never updated. Thanks, exophobia. The zombie pigman mob was actually created by a player named exophobia, and when Notch wanted to use this mob in the vanilla game, he wanted to swap the original red blood texture for green blood, but we've already discussed this previously in the Iceberg. Notch did want to give credit to exophobia for the texture, so while he was redesigning the blood, he wrote a hidden message on the zombie pigman skin that could only be seen when looking at the texture file directly. Written with black pixels, the words, "Thanks exophobia" were written in the texture, and remained there until the texture was changed in release 1.14. Notch drops apples. In version infdev 2010-02-27-1, any player with the username Notch was made to drop an apple on death, regardless if they actually had an apple or not in their inventory. This was the only way to obtain apples in survival, as they didn't drop from trees and couldn't be found in any loot tables until version beta 1.8 when they were added to the stronghold loot chests. Now, I thought to this day, players with the username Notch would still drop apples, but apparently this feature was removed in release 1.3.1. The more you know. Undead Giants. Giants are a classic mob that have been in the game's code since version indev 2010-02-05, yet still remain unused to this day. The giant appears like a 12-block tall zombie, and can only be spawned through the /summon command. Although the giant hasn't been given a proper function, it's received many updates since its creation. It even seems like it was almost properly added to the game at one point during the snapshots for 1.14. In one specific snapshot of 1.14, a ton of changes are made to the giant, giving it proper AI, changing how it interacts with the world, and even giving it a baby and jockey form. Unfortunately, these changes were reverted just a few snapshots later, once again leaving the giant with no purpose, though its inclusion, even after getting several features scrapped, shows the developers are still interested in the giant, so who knows, maybe one day you'll finally be able to fight the giant in your own Minecraft world. Removed and unused biomes. As I'm sure you can imagine, with the many biomes featured in Minecraft, there's quite a few that have been cut from the game. Now, there are way too many removed biomes for me to talk about all of them in depth, so I'll just mention a few that caught my eye. The rainforest biome was the precursor to the jungle. Added in Alpha 1.2.0, the biome was made up of dense woods, changing the usual 1 out of 10 chance for oak trees to be large to 1 out of 3. The shrubland biome, also added in Alpha 1.2.0 and removed in Beta 1.8, featured sparse trees with no tall grass, and this biome was one of the smallest in the game at the time. Finally, we have the ice desert, which, due to the developers not giving the biome rainfall or temperature data, was never able to generate in the world. This biome would have been a barren and relatively flat plain of snow, though instead of grass under the snow layers, the floor would have been made up of sand. Baby riding zombies. Exclusive to the Bedrock editions of Minecraft, baby zombies are far more capable jockeys than in Java edition. Baby zombies in Bedrock aren't limited to the chicken in terms of mobs they can ride. Actually, they can ride up to 20 different mobs, including all animals and a few hostile mobs as well, like piggybacking off adult zombies, which is horrifying, might I add. They're also capable of finding a new mob to mount if the one they're occupying gets killed. Endermites are parasites. With the fan theories surrounding the Endermen themselves, there's no way the Endermite could sneak by without getting some theories of their own. There seems to be several theories out there as to what the Endermites are and how they came to be, but the common consensus is that Endermites are parasitic creatures that infect Endermen, hence why Endermen are hostile towards them. My favorite theory I found while researching for this entry claims that when Endermen teleport, they open a rift to another dimension briefly, which is also what occurs when the player uses an Ender Pearl. Occasionally, an Endermite will slip out from this rift and be met with swift death from any Enderman nearby in fear of being infected with this parasite. Unused pigman. On October 26, 2010, a player named McClee suggested a mob called the Pigman to notch. Now, don't get confused, I'm not talking about the classic Pigman mob you'd find in the Nether, or even the new Piglins. This mob was the Minecraft pigskin, but on a player model. Notch was so impressed by the suggestion that not only was the pigman texture added to the game, but McClee was also given an exclusive bacon cape as a gift. Later in 2011, the pigman mob was finally going to be used in the upcoming villages Mojang had been developing, making the pigmen the predecessor to the villagers we have today. Though, after further development, it was decided that the pigman mob would instead be a bodyguard to the village, even letting the player give them armor and weapons. Only a month after announcing the bodyguard pigman, the mob was shelved, and later in release 1.6.1, its texture was removed from the game, officially discontinuing development on the pigman. Mobs afraid of cats. Cats in Minecraft have a unique function that scares away both creepers and phantoms. Creepers won't get anywhere near cats, and when phantoms swoop down at the player, the cat hisses and the phantoms fly back up. To my knowledge, it hasn't been stated why creepers and phantoms are afraid of cats, of all things. And in the poetic words of this Iceberg's creator, what the fuck did the cats do to them? Zombies dropped feathers. From version indev 2010-02-19 until beta 1.8, zombies dropped up to 2 feathers when killed. This is definitely an odd job for a zombie to have, but the reason for this, as Notch stated on Twitter, is because, quote, "The zombies drop feathers because I don't know what they should drop, and chickens weren't around back then." So, it's as simple as that, really. When Notch figured out that zombies should drop rotten flesh, it was updated in beta 1.8, as previously mentioned. Enderman backwards speech. If you listen to an Enderman's passive sounds, you might be able to hear some actual words, such as hi, what's up, or even look for the eye. A lot of people believe that the Enderman's cries are distorted and reversed audio clips of phrases and words, but according to the developers, this just isn't true. This is likely just a case of auditory pareidolia, a common sensory illusion that makes your brain believe you're hearing phrases in audio that don't really exist. It's the audio version of seeing shapes in clouds or faces in random objects, essentially. Legacy console ruins. In Title Update 69, which was the aquatic update for Console Edition, a new tutorial world was created to show off some new features introduced with this update. If you were to head off mainland and towards some icebergs south of spawn, you could look beneath the ice and find the entirety of the previous tutorial world now submerged and ruined below the frigid waters. This was an amazing Easter egg, and was done once again in the minigames lobby, where you could explore a hidden path and find another replica of a previous tutorial world. Entity 303. The story of Entity 303 starts back in December of 2013, when a player by the name of TheSpeed179 allegedly received an email by someone named Frankie. The original story is a bit too long to read in its entirety, so I'll just give you a quick summary. 4 friends by the name of Frankie, John, Vincent, and Brady are playing on a private SMP on a whitelisted server. As the 4 are playing, with the use of the Social Spy plugin, they notice an unfamiliar username execute the /stop command in the console. John starts freaking out, thinking someone has hacked their world, and the author, Frankie, is perplexed in how someone could have invaded their whitelisted server. They choose to ignore it, however, and things return to normal until they make a trip to grab some wood out of a nearby forest. This is when they spot a player with a ghostly figure and red eyes. Frankie chases after the player, John is freaking out even more, Brady elects to ignore everything, and Vincent is stuck in place, not moving in game, and has left their Skype call. After a moment, Vincent logs out of the server, and attempts to contact him are futile, which makes John have a complete breakdown, crying and thinking Vincent has been murdered by this hacker. Getting back to the game, Frankie notices his Minecraft is being corrupted, his screen is glitching out, and his chat is spamming objects successfully summoned by player.number:303. Just as this happens, an unknown individual joins the Skype call with no username, prompting both John and Brady to leave the call, leaving Frankie alone with this so-called hacker. A faint voice tells Frankie to make a wish, which is reflected on the server itself, with the chat now being filled with the same phrase. Frankie is then locked in place and is given the blindness effect. His computer won't even shut down despite his attempts. This mysterious player runs up to Frankie and is described as, quote, a ghostly skin with red eyes and a white parka. A final message is left in the chat. Make a wish and say goodbye to your friends, before Frankie's computer is shut off. The next day, Frankie meets up with Brady at school, the only other person to show up out of the four. Frankie is told that both John and Vincent are missing, and later, while investigating their disappearance, it's revealed that John has unalived himself, leaving a note behind reading, quote, "I can't take this anymore. I can't sleep. I'm afraid he's watching me. I can't live like this, knowing that someone is after me, wanting me to die a slow, painful death. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you." With faint text on the back reading, quote, "Make a wish." As far as Vincent goes, him and his father are missing. Frankie checks out his place and finds no one home, with "Make a wish" written on the bathroom mirror. Frankie ends off this email to the Speed 179 with a warning. "If you ever encounter 303 again, I want you to quickly close out of your Minecraft and shut down your computer." Over the years, Entity 303 has become quite popular, getting countless other stories written by fans, as well as receiving its own spin-off characters. In fact, Entity 303 became so popular that even Notch was made aware of it. In a tweet responding to fans, asking if Entity 303 was real, Notch stated, quote, "Oh god no, Entity 303, what is wrong with you people? It's just a game. I can't deal with this." Of course, if you had any doubt, Entity 303 has never existed in any Minecraft version. Even the creator of Entity 303, the Speed 179, has said that the story is obviously fake, though this hasn't and probably will never deter fans of the story from spreading on 303's legacy. Null. Null is a Minecraft creepypasta based on a Java parsing failure. If you were to place a sign down in version 1.7, launch that world in 1.8, then launch it once again back in 1.7, the blank spaces in the sign would instead read null. This is just a glitch, nothing more, no scary entity behind it. But some creative people have made lore behind this coding error. The story of Null is mainly told through individual encounters with the creature, so there's many different takes on what exactly Null does if it's found in your world. I've got 2 example stories here, and they're pretty short, so I'm gonna read them. I really encourage you to hear these out because they are just pure gold, but if you want to skip them, skip to the time on screen now. Alright, here's the first story, and keep in mind, I am rating these 100% as written. This is my experience. I am Goku 1012U, but when I was playing Minecraft, I decided to start a treehouse. So I was starting to get some wood until I saw a player. The player was all black and didn't have no eyes, but when I checked, the multiplayer was off, so I thought it was a glitch, but when I was building the treehouse, I saw something strange. I saw that there was a shadow. When I went there, there was nothing. But when I got back up, the shadow was there again. So I got creeped out, but I was starting to see crosses in the trees, until one day, in front of the door, was something shocking. There was a Steve head, with blood, and a sign saying, "Only God can help you now." I was shocked, and in that moment, I saw him. When my sister found out, she decided to delete the world. But it was scary. Alright, here's the second story. This is Wahoo Player, and I play in the MCPE. So I was joining my friend World, and his friend is there, so we make the house, and searching iron. When we in the Nether, we see Stein with a redstone torch, and in Stein is a Null, and we follow the redstone torch after we see the Null. Then it killed me until I died, and the world was corrupted, and it kicked me out from the world. In the same forum page I got these stories from, there are a few comments debating on whether these stories are true, believe it or not, and well, I guess you'll have to come to that conclusion yourself. Gargamel. Gargamel was a classic Minecraft seed that had everything you could expect from the incredible beta terrain generation. This seed lasted from beta 1.3 until version 1.7.2, featuring amazing cliffs with a valley down the center, along with those classic lava and waterfalls. I remember using this seed years ago and building a house right in that valley between the cliffs. I hadn't thought about Gargamel in so long until right now. I really love the old terrain generation Minecraft used to have. Some of my other favorite seeds were Glacier and 404. If you weren't around back then, or just haven't tried out these seeds, I really recommend loading up an old Minecraft instance and taking a look at them. They're really that great. Meta-inf. Meta-inf is a file used to check the integrity of all the game files in your .minecraft folder. If you did some jar modding back in the day when Forge was an automatic, you'll definitely remember being told to delete the meta-inf file while you were adding your mods. This was because meta-inf makes sure that all of the game's files are the way the developers intended them to be, so if it finds modified files, it won't allow the game to run. These days, modern mod loaders like Forge or Fabric do this automatically, so as long as you're playing a relatively recent version of Minecraft, you won't have to worry about meta-inf. 3D anaglyph. Added during the 0.24 survival test for the classic period of Minecraft, the 3D anaglyph option was a button the player could toggle in the pause screen in order to give the game a red and blue stereoscopic effect. This effect would allow you to play the game with 3D glasses on. Definitely an interesting way to play, though the 3D anaglyph option was removed with the release of 1.13, as 3D glasses weren't as popular anymore. Personally, I can't even remember the last time I saw a movie in 3D. Crash log Easter eggs. When Minecraft crashes and generates a crash log, the second line is always a random joke determined by the time on your computer. I pulled a few of my own crash logs, and they read as follows. I let you down, sorry, sad face. Well, this is awkward. And finally, did I do that? Cancelled Minecon 2014. For unknown reasons, after Mojang announced a Minecon event in Europe set for 2014, the event was suddenly cancelled without a word for 5 months. Minecon was then rescheduled for 2015 and was held in London at the XL London Exhibition and Conference Centre on July 4th and 5th. During this Minecon, the 1.9 combat update was shown off, and things went off without a hitch. MD3 models. The first person to ever join Mojang in 2009 was a man by the name of Hayden Scott Barron. Hayden, also referred to as Doc, signed on as an artist for Mojang, creating several models and even a logo for Minecraft. In version InDev 2009-12-23-1, one of Doc's models, Reyna, was put in the game using the MD3 model format, which gave the entity a stark contrast from all other mobs in the game. As I'm sure you could imagine, Doc was also the creator of the 3 other infamous MD3 models that made their way into the game, those being Steve, Black Steve, and Beast Boy. Once again, all of these models were made for testing purposes. They had no real mechanics and were removed shortly after their introduction. The MD3 model format would be used by Notch once again on December 7th, 2009, where he implemented models from the game Quake. An archive of a video from Notch's personal YouTube channel, Nizach, shows off these models in-game. These Quake models are so unnatural in Minecraft's landscape, and honestly, they really creep me out looking at them. I don't know why. And once again, we have finished another layer of the iceberg. Hope you enjoyed it. It took a lot of time, a lot of work this time around. 3 months, actually, of straight working almost every day. I actually got sick again in the middle of this one. I started to feel like it's a curse working on these iceberg videos. I always end up getting some sort of fucking illness. But we got through it. I finished it. I'm sorry it took so long. I feel like I always say that too, but I put a lot of time and effort into them because I want them to be good. I want to be proud of them, and I want you guys to enjoy them as well. But yeah, no, this one was a good one. We had a lot of great entries in this one. I feel really good about it. Sometimes when I finish one of these parts of the iceberg, I feel a little weird about them. I don't know if they're going to do too well, but you guys always seem to end up enjoying them, so I hope you enjoy this one too. I don't have much to say. Like I said in the beginning, please, if you have the time, like, comment, subscribe, of course, and check out my Twitch. Check out my Twitch. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's a good time over there, and maybe I'll see you there if you choose to join it. All right. I don't want to keep you here for too long. Go enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there. But, yeah. That's it.